This is a regular conference of City Council incorporating the annual meetings notice of 2014, which was filed in the City Clerk's office and posted on the bulletin board on December 27, 2013. Sent to the Star Ledger and Home News Tribune, all in compliance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law of New Jersey. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Perkins Dusty. Here. Councilman Questa.
Here.
Councilman Torres.
Here.
Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilman Keenan.
Here.
Councilman Sedan. Councilman Gallman.
Here.
Councilman Mazza.
Here.
President Grover.
Here. Opening the floor to public meeting. Any member of the public wishing to address City Council at this time? See none, I'll close that portion of the meeting.
I want to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm at a 6 word with Mr. Massa, but I didn't have time to go to his house. I'm sorry to come straight to here, but
Okay,
I went to your house twice, but you know, I think it was the different times we got. We got two issues in, I believe it's everywhere right now in our community. We got the first of all, we got the parking area, you know, the public side. You know, you never find a parking across in your house or across the street of your house. You always have to park a little far away, which makes sense. There's a lot of people living in Elizabeth. But we got an issue right now with the 650 Elizabeth Avenue. Is a body shop. It's a mechanic.
I just drove by there today. That's a problem.
Yes, they got a huge parking site in the back of the store, which is, they occupy probably 9 cars right there. They put 9 cars there, but the guys keep doing it, putting the cars outside. I know they want to fix the cars, but they're living outside with it. The citizen needs those parking area because this is snow a lot, and they put the snow, the guy pushed the car with the snow, clean his area, and occupy with the snow one parking site where the people can park right there. Now, I don't know the age of the people live around my house, but sometimes I have to park my car like 2 blocks away or a block away from my house because it's not easy to find out. It happens so often right now. The car's leaving his car or the car's going to fix and live outside, not inside, which is empty lot. Why the guy's not putting the cars inside, they want to fix it next to it. So though the people complain about it, about this place, but you know, that's a big issue right there for us.
So he's using the public street for his private business.
Yes, that's correct, because if, for example, I bring my car to that guy, I said, can you fix my car? Yeah, you leave your car over here. And then they park my car outside in the street. You know, still have like a huge parking lot, you can put 7 cars, but the lot is empty most of the time. So that's a good complaint, I believe so. Not only for me, it's for everybody else who lives in the neighborhood. The second one is, companies that do advertising a lot, but they throw those like, probably you receive in the house too. Those advertisements for supermarkets, El Rey, La Copa, different supermarket, they leave the advertisement like a newspaper rolling, and they throw in the house. They throw in the house so often, they pass many times, they don't put it in the mailbox, they throw it just in the house. So I got a driveway, so I have to pick up those things every single day. I have to pick up like 5 or 6, plus those big bags, white bag, which says ShopRite, all this stuff. It's advertisement, I know it's advertisement because it's business, but they don't throw it out just on my driveway, on the grass, everywhere, so I have to pick it up every day, those. If I'm not doing my father has to do it. He's 33 years old right now, he has to do it. And then I have to do it too. As soon as I be in my house by 5 or 6 o'clock, I see those advertisements in the ground, which is, I think it's not fair, including Chinese food, pizzeria, all this stuff. Okay, that's fine, but leave it in the mailbox, not even the ground, the stairs like that, because when it rains, it snow, whatever, the wind bring all everywhere, destroy it. In that town, it look like that.
Right.
You know, crap. It's not, doesn't look. I take care of my house. I take care outside all the time, but I cannot work with those guys just because they want to do business in the way he wants to. You know what I mean? That's the 2 complaints that I have right now. So nothing else.
I could tell you this. What's your first name?
Jose?
Jose. This became an issue a few years ago here on the city council, and we actually brought in representatives from Pathmark. Our law in our books is that they're supposed to put any advertisement right at your front door, on the floor or close to the door. And I understand if they're going in the driveway, that's not the front door. Because what happens is they hire these people to do it, and they just throw it, as opposed to walking. They're supposed to put it by the front door so it doesn't blow around. All I'm gonna ask you to do is, when you see this going on, and people at home, if they see this is going on, make sure that you call our Department of Licensing, which is the enforcement agency, and we'll, if you bring the evidence, we'll issue some in support to Pathmark or whoever the entity is that's not compliant with the law. Okay?
All right.
Mr. President, and the first issue that he also mentioned several years ago, might be 15, 20 years ago, when this gentleman went for variance, it was denied a variance. We do have on the book of city book, even on the gasoline station, you're only allowed to have a certain amount of car on the lot. 2 might be on the rigs that you lifted up, and 2 probably, depending how many cars you fix in a day, but they're not supposed to be. There's an ordinance on the book, you cannot keep, and that area was a residential. So if it's the same gentleman that I have in mind, I mean, you're on the right side, this guy is across from me
Right,
to the
right,
left.
that's
Okay.
it, yeah.
Well, there were people many years ago, they complained about him, that he kept so many cars. So the inspector at the time went there to the previous owner and subsequent to the current owner. He cannot keep those cars inside the lot. He only allowed to have so many per day when he's allowed to fix. So if there are cars that have been abandoned, parked in the same situation within 24 hours, either you call me or you call the police, they could give him a fine and take the cars away for no moving
All
cars.
right, so Councilman, you'll take care of that, right?
I will, thank you.
you.
But
Anything else, sir?
in the daytime, I'm in school.
No,
so
nothing else.
Any other members of the public wishing to address City Council? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the meeting. Move on to new business.
Letter dated February 24, 2014, from His Honor the Mayor, subject to the confirmation of your honorable body. I herewith reappoint Ms. Gisela Bernal Castro Elizabeth to serve as a member of the Elizabeth Parking Authority for a new 5-year term. Letter dated February 27, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to AAM Motor Sales, doing business as Jersey City Ford, Jersey City, for maintenance and repairs of vehicles with 15,000-pound gross vehicle weight rating or less for various departments for the period February 1, 2014 through March 31st, 2014, at a cost not to exceed $25,000.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. President, I thumbed through my paperwork, and as you see, the next one's gonna be something, what of a repair for heavy-duty vehicle. On here, before us now, is the one, they got on there, gross weight of 15,000 pounds. My question is, what is the tonnage, what do they consider heavy-duty? At 15,000 pounds, is that a heavy-duty? Because, is that considered heavy-duty? Because you got 2 or 3, I noticed 2 or 3 of them in here. You understand my question? What do they consider heavy duty?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Because I see 2 or 3 of them in our package calls for repair for heavy duty, but on this one it says 15,000 pounds. And my question is, what do they consider as heavy duty?
I can find the answer to that. I don't know.
I know every ton is 2,000 pounds.
That is correct.
You're looking at 7.5 tons. I don't know the answer to the question. I have to believe that anything above 15,000 pounds would be considered heavy duty, but let's get an answer from the,
Can we get an answer for us, please?
Absolutely. I'll have an answer for you by before next Tuesday.
all right, thank you. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Letter dated February 27, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to Atlantic Detroit Diesel Allison LLC, Lodi, New Jersey, for maintenance and repair for heavy-duty vehicles to include, but not limited to, motors and transmissions for the various departments for period February 24, 2014 through February 28, 2015, at a cost not to exceed $75,000.
Questions put it on?
Letter dated February 27, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to Avaya Inc., Newtown, Pennsylvania, for the purchase of telecommunications wire for various departments for the period February 2nd, 2014 through February 1st, 2015, at a cost not to exceed $80,000.
Put it on.
Letter dated February 27, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to Firefighter One LLC, Sparta, New Jersey, for firefighter protective clothing and equipment for the fire department during the period of February 11, 2014 through March 31st, 2015, at a cost not to exceed $60,000.
Any questions? Put it on.
Letter dated February 27, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to Firefighter One LLC, Sparta, New Jersey, for the purchase of police and homeland security equipment and supplies for the fire department for the period February 11, 2014 through April 30, 2015, at a cost not to exceed $60,000.
Put it on.
Letter dated February 27, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to Winter Ford, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, for the purchase of two 2014 Ford Fusion sedans at a cost of $36,212 under the Morris County Co-op.
Put it on.
Letter dated February 28, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to Route 23 Auto Mall, Butler, New Jersey, for maintenance and repairs for heavy-duty vehicles to various departments for the period February 24, 2014 through February 28, 2015, at a cost not to exceed $50,000.
I just have a question, Doc. And I understand we have to go through these state contract concepts, but we've got at least 3 or 4 in this town that service heavy equipment
Okay.
mechanics. Is there any way that we could get away from requiring our trucks to go out to Butler, New Jersey? We spend more on gas to get them out there than it's worth.
I don't know that our trucks necessarily go out there. It really depends on what we're talking about here, and I don't know that I can answer that specific, and I can find out, but it may just be a part that's provided from in this case, Route
It says
26.
maintenance and repair. So they come to us?
I don't know, I can look into that, I'm
Please.
not certain.
Yes, sir.
A better idea would be to do a program for local vendors to make them aware of the state's contract program and get them eligible for it. I don't know whether EDC years ago was involved with that, but it might help to do an outreach to our local business people so they can qualify for the business.
I just feel that there's enough mechanics in our town. And we're a town of 140,000 people. So if we can get these guys to be on the state contract and start awarding some of the local guys some money, it'd be helpful for our community.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick note that sometimes complying with, the proposal and bid response
I know
provisions of the state
I know
contracts are
stuff.
difficult, especially for a small shop.
I understand. But, if there's a way we can do it.
Happy to look into it.
My question is, do we have a heavy-duty mechanic on the premises? That's number one. And if we don't, why don't we hire a heavy-duty mechanic?
That's another opportunity.
You know
So
what I'm
either we use a local mechanic or let's hire a guy that does it.
Hire a guy.
If we're gonna spend 50 grand,
You will fit, wait,
We can hire a guy
wait a
for
minute, more than
50.
that, you're talking about 50, what was it, 75 here? 50 here? Come on. You can hire a guy.
we can hire 2 guys.
You know what I'm saying?
That's just what's allocated, that don't mean that
Right.
you're gonna.
No,
use
we
it.
understand that.
You understand, right, we understand, right, you understand, but at least it's a start, you're in the right direction.
I didn't answer.
Thank you.
Letter dated February 28, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to J&M National Spring Company, Newark, New Jersey, for maintenance and repair of heavy-duty vehicles to include but not limited to springs for for various departments for the period February 24, 2014 through February 28, 2015, at a cost not to exceed $50,000.
Same comment.
Letter dated February 28, 2014, from the Business Administrator recommending awarding a contract to W.W. Granger, Inc., Cranford, New Jersey, for industrial maintenance, repair, operation supplies, and equipment for various departments for the period February 28, 2014 through February 28, 2015, at a cost not to exceed $400,000.
What are we talking about this? Repair, operation, supplies.
My understanding is that this is for the Public Works Department specifically, but beyond that, I'd have to get more information.
Mr. President,
Councilman Keenan.
Granger's is one of the biggest nationwide providers of industrial things like parts that would be in ceilings and walls and stuff like that. It's heavy-duty industrial. I remember this from my time at the library, so I think it's more on that side rather than,
And vehicles.
it's not vehicles, it's industrial stuff, it's building stuff.
Can we find out how much we spent last year on these guys?
Certainly.
Okay. Letter dated 28, 2014, from the Business Administrator requesting to amend the resolution dated July 24, 2012, awarding the contract to Atlantic Tactical of New Jersey for the purchase of ammunition, protective vests, and crime prevention supplies at a cost not to exceed $200,000, specifically to add additional equipment, which is under Atlantic Tactical of New Jersey, Inc., state contract numbers 81360 and 82102.
Questions? No.
Letter dated February 28, 2014, from the Business Administrator recommending awarding a contract to Campbell Freightliner LLC, South Brunswick, New Jersey, for maintenance and repair services for heavy-duty vehicles, to include but not limited to repair of pumps, water tanks, and exhaust for various departments for the period February 24, 2014 through February 28, 2015, at a cost not to exceed $50,000.
Any questions before?
There we go.
Let's
It's
look at all the numbers.
It's about 5 or 6.
You add them up, you get two guys, local guys working.
And then you have 5 or 6 here for all heavy duty.
Letter dated February 28, 2014, from the Business Administrator requesting authorization for the purchasing agent to commence the competitive contracting process in order to draft a request for proposal for the purposes of selecting an energy services company to initiate an energy services improvement program.
Any questions? Put it on.
Letter dated February 28, 2014, from the Business Administrator recommending awarding a contract to Air Brake and Equipment, Hillside, New Jersey, for the maintenance and repair of heavy-duty vehicles, to include but not limited to brakes and air systems for various departments for the period February 24, 2014 through February 28, 2015, at a cost not to exceed $50,000.
Mr. President, what I'm going to suggest is that what I'll do is go back through all these heavy duty and find out exactly what's contemplated, as well as what portion of that is maintenance versus supplies, and I think that may be better suited.
You hear the repetitive requests that are being made by us? Okay, a broken record. This one's in Hillside, it's in Union County. Okay. So why would we buy all this stuff from Union County if we can't get Elizabeth?
Well, it depends on the parts. They may not be available through the Union County.
Yeah, but it says
Co-op.
maintenance and repair. It doesn't say parts.
Again, it depends on what it is. You're right.
Okay. So find out for us, please. Be our investigator. Eyewitness News investigator.
I'm happy to.
Letter dated March 3, 2014, from the Business Administrator recommending awarding a contract to Northeast Auto and Truck Parts LLC, Division of Capital Supply, Inc., Bayonne, New Jersey, for the purchase of parts and repairs for road maintenance equipment for the Department of Public Works for the period February 24, 2014 through February 24, 2016, at a cost not to exceed $250,000.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
can we ask on these, and we've been on some of the other contracts, that they include what was spent previously?
I think that's a very important question, Don. They asked not to exceed a certain amount. We'd like to know what we spent last year on all of these.
Sure.
You got them all in front of you, so if you
Yeah.
can go back, get us that information, at least we get an idea of what we spent last year, so we have an idea of whether it's worth,
Absolutely.
And maybe routinely, Mr. President, they can get into the
Yeah.
habit of including it?
for future. I think it's a good idea. Yes, sir, Councilman.
Manny, didn't we get a good numbers of new fleets, or usually should be any cost?
I agree with you. We just bought, Councilman Goldman's term as president, we bought a
Right.
bunch of
Yep.
new
Right.
trucks, and
Millions.
so the numbers really shouldn't be that high unless, I know the snowstorm killed a lot of our, but, I mean, we're at $500,000 already.
There's a lot of trucks in our fleet, and even though under former President Goldman's tutelage, we replaced a lot of trucks, there's still a lot of,
I understand,
they take a lot of pounding.
but $500,000 is $500,000.
Understood.
Thank you, sir.
Letter dated March 3rd, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to Dynamic Imaging Systems, Inc., Mount Laurel, New Jersey, to provide maintenance for PictureLink Imaging Systems hardware and software for the Police Department in the total amount of $20,900.45.
What does Picture Link do?
So Dynamic Imaging has provided a product to the police department, which is a facial and thumbprint recognition software. So when a prisoner is taken inside headquarters, they can take a picture of him and match it up against the federal database, as well as a thumbprint from the federal database. So it's
In case he's wanted somewhere else.
absolutely.
Okay.
You never had that before?
Not at the local level. CSI doesn't exist in Elizabeth. Thank you.
Letter dated March 3rd, 2014, from the Business Administrator, recommending awarding a contract to Computer Systems and Methods, Somerville, New Jersey, for the purchase of 4 Panasonic ToughPads for the EMS division of the Fire Department at a total cost of $13,130.48.
Put on.
Letter dated March 3rd, 2014, from the Business Administrator recommending awarding a contract to EFK Group LLC, Trenton, New Jersey, to provide the Office of Youth Services Program, branding, video, website design, and development in the total amount of $70,000.
Any questions? Put it on, John.
Letter dated March 4, 2014, from the Business Administrator requesting change order number 1 to the contract awarded on January 22nd, 2013 to Pierce Manufacturing of Appleton, Wisconsin, regarding sealed bid for mobile phone support delivery unit and chemical agent support unit in the amount of $1,641,828. Specifically to increase the award by $13,182, and a contract awarded on May 14, 2013, sealed bid for a 2,000 GPM pumper and aerial ladder truck in the amount of $1,358,959, specifically to increase the award by $8,211 in order for the vehicles to operate safely and efficiently.
Any questions?
Put 'em on.
Put on.
Letter dated March 4, 2014, from the Business Administrator requesting authorization for the proper city officials to appoint, enter into, and execute an agreement with the law firm of Lum, Drasco, and Positon, LLC, Roseland, New Jersey, to provide employment, bless you, to provide employment council services for the city of Elizabeth for the period of February 15, 2014 through February 14, 2015, at a rate of $175 per hour for attorneys, $75 per hour for paralegals, and $25 per hour for secretarial overtime if authorized by the city attorney, for a total cap of $60,000.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Are they representing the employees here?
No.
So who are they representing?
Us.
Us?
All right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're a city's employment council.
Against the unions.
Okay.
All right? Yep.
Letter dated March 4, 2014, from the business administrator requesting authorization to amend the resolution dated January 14, 2014, authorizing an amendment of Schedule A of the lease purchase agreement between the City of Elizabeth and Motorola Solutions, Inc. to provide all equipment for City of Elizabeth first responders under the Motorola trunked radio system upgrade, specifically to provide that the chief financial officer will encumber funds and execute a certificate of availability of funds every year of the lease purchase agreement.
What's that cost?
First amount was $424.
Can I comment on this, Mr. President?
You're bad.
So in 2012, your honorable body authorized a lease purchase agreement between the city and Motorola to purchase radio equipment for all first responders,
Fire and police.
fire and police. January of this year, we amended that to include non-first responders, public works, health department, etc. That amount was about $425,000. What we're asking you to do here is a bit of housekeeping. We neglected to put in that initial letter and subsequent resolution the language that on an annual basis the CFO will encumber funds and prepare a certificate of availability of funds prior to payment of any bills. So that's really all we're asking.
We're not changing the amount.
We're not changing any amounts, that's all we're asking your honorable body to do. In fact, you've already approved the amount.
Not costing us any more than we're good.
Correct.
Letter dated March 4, 2014, from Chief Financial Officer advising that additional grants may be appropriated in the 2014 state fiscal year budget by budget amendments, Chapter 159. Letter dated March 4, 2014, from Chief Financial Officer advising that in compliance with the state fiscal year 2014 Appropriations Act, your honorable body approve all payments related to accumulated uncompensated absence benefits. Letter dated March 4, 2014, from the Director of Health and Human Services requesting that your honorable body consider adopting an ordinance entitled Smoking and to Prohibit Smoking on City Property.
All right, on this ordinance, I had a conversation with Director Garlick. I'm going to ask all of you to look at this. We're not going to put this on for next Tuesday because I think it's important that every member of council read through this ordinance as thorough as possible.
It's only one page.
It's 2 pages. But the point is that I gave her my opinion, which is what's included in this ordinance. I'm one brain, she's another brain. It'd be nice if we got everybody's input. Okay? If anybody has any comment that you feel needs to be amended to this ordinance, please let us know right away. Our law department will talk about it and we'll amend it. I think the concept is a very good concept, but at the same time, I don't want to jump into something that later we're going to have to amend anyhow. Okay, So if any of you have any input, please let me know. I would prefer to know by next Tuesday. And then if everything is okay, then we'll put it on for the end of the month. Councilwoman.
I'm just saying, since it's very short, as it pertains to any other ordinance, can we just can we put it on, and then if there's any unreadiness, we can take it off since it's an ordinance and it takes longer for it to go into effect?
I don't have a problem with it, but
Because it's very short.
Right,
Yeah, I
and-
spoke to the director about it also. She shared this piece of legislation with me prior to sending it up. And I'm glad that it did make its way up to our desk so that we can act on it.
Councilman Gonzalez.
Mr. President, I mean, I don't have a problem with it either, per se, but when it comes to parks and recreation areas, do we have other parks, like McConnell Park, is that prohibited there, and that sort of thing?
That's actually a county facility.
No, I know it is a county, but I'm just wondering if other parks in Union County have that prohibition
Well, for
of smoking.
your information, the county passed the same ordinance
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say.
some time ago. I forgot what
Okay.
year it was.
Right. So, Don, can we find out if the county has a,
They do.
Several municipalities.
They do.
Number,
Yeah.
yeah, they do.
I forgot what year it
That's
was.
what the director shared with me, that we're like late.
well, I agree with her, but, well, it's, just because we're late doesn't mean we just jump into it.
No, we're not jumping in, that's what I said, everyone take an
Councilman
opportunity.
Kennedy.
Oh, I didn't finish.
Go ahead,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had one other thing. Like I said, I don't have a problem with it, and I'm not concerned about other parks and if we've done it elsewhere here, at least in the county. But then the practicality of it with the city parks and recreational areas is the enforcement. It's the only other thing that
Yeah,
I'm concerned with.
it doesn't say here.
On city buildings, I can see more, but in parks and recreational areas, I think it's gonna be a little more difficult to actually enforce them.
The enforcement part is a very good question, because that's section 3 of the ordinance, and it talks about health officer or a law enforcement officer. So I guess it rests with the health department and the police department.
It says any code enforcement officer, so it could be public works, it could be housing, it could be anybody who has,
The right to write summons.
Right.
yeah, anyone who has the power to write summonses.
The problem I have with that is this. We're having a big problem with our dog warden. Every time he goes out there to issue a summons for somebody who doesn't comply with the retrieval of what dog drops behind, he's getting confronted by these owners. He doesn't carry a gun, you know, it could become a confrontational thing. So, we're gonna allow for health officers or any city code enforcement officer to do this, it can become dangerous. So we need to find out, from our police department or from our health officers. I mean, they see a guy smoking in a park, they confront them, now there becomes a problem. And then we have, you know, there has to be some relationship between whoever is enforcing you and the police department. Because if you're smoking and I come up to you, I got my little badge, I got no gun, and I'm gonna write you a ticket, and now you decide to get arrogant with me, they have to get some quick response from the police department if that needs to be action. Go ahead.
I think you'll
You get
understand
you.
that first.
The public library buildings are city-owned property, so it would impact them as well. And there are two specific issues.
Is that in here?
No, but the main library and the, is a standalone. The Peterstown is in the Peterstown Community Center, but they are city properties. And as a matter of fact, their existing procedures cite the existing City of Elizabeth ordinance with regard to non-smoking. But there are two impacts that I see. Broad Street by the courthouse there, Elizabeth Avenue, very, very busy downtown intersection. Many passersby who don't go to the library, just walking on Broad Street, use it. How do you enforce that? Because many of those passersby are smoking. I think enforcement would be very, very problematic in that situation. with regard to library staff, the existing contract quotes the existing City of Elizabeth non-smoking ordinance. So the question becomes now, the new ordinance, would the new ordinance supersede the existing contract? Because the existing contract says that people can smoke outside of the building, right? So would this new ordinance mean, would the ordinance trump the union contract? So I have a couple of issues with it. I think overall the thought is a good one, but I can just imagine trying to get passers-by on the corner of, the courthouse and the library. It's gonna be brutal, unfortunately. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Councilman Mays.
Mr. President, we know for a fact that the smoking definitely is not good to our health and it creates heart problem, et cetera, I'm all in favor of what Commissioner Garlick, she prepared for this particular page and a quarter, whatever. My concern also, if this ordinance could be possible go throughout any, as Joe mentioned, that's a busy corner, but let's say if you are on 3rd Avenue and you have a group of guys smoking cigars, and especially those stingy cigars, and I have my window open and all the smoke comes into my property, it's like, really I probably need an oxygen tank in order to prevent, to eliminate. So if that could be also allowed, and then what is the legality? Do we stand before anybody could challenge us? I mean, do we have any nationwide under a federal guideline is such a law when already in existence throughout our states, or is it just done by Union County?
Your example is actually preventing people from smoking on a public sidewalk, public street. I don't know if we can do that.
Well, yeah, no.
Well, again,
Now you're expanding
Yeah.
it.
but that's what I mean. You're saying on property, let's say I'm a smoker and I don't want to quit, and that's my freedom to choose to smoke. I'm against smoke personally anyway. So I leave my 10 minutes break in order to have coffee and I'm going across the street right by the parking lot, or I go in the middle of the street. I don't have to be on the sidewalk and I could smoke. Is that against the law?
No, not in this ordinance.
That's what I mean.
No, no.
So now we're creating, as Joe said, in a contract, they were allowed to go outside the building and not to smoke inside. And
I don't know that answer. Don, can you find out if there's any such thing in our contract with employees?
Sure. I know for a fact that there is not a provision in our contract, in our city contracts. I think Councilman Keenan was talking about an addendum to the library
Right, library
employees'
contract.
contracts. That I'm not aware of.
All right, okay, Councilwoman.
Thank you. I spoke to the director, and she knows that if the council, move forward on a piece of legislation, that a big PSA piece will follow it, because you have to alert the people, right? So the PSA piece will say, what the new law is and why it's out and so on and so forth. So she is prepared to do that if the council sees fit, to put it on.
I don't have a problem with it. Either way, we're gonna put it on for reading, first reading. If anybody has any questions, obviously the public library has to be added into section 2A. And the only concern I have is as much well-intentioned as she may have and we may have, my concern is for the safety of the person that's actually enforcing it. So maybe if she's going to do it, maybe she has to coordinate with the director of police department, because if one of the city health department enforcement officers goes up to someone and they have a confrontation, there has to be quick response by the police department.
It's just like when we instituted the curfew, when I pushed for that to be instituted, there was a big PSA piece,
But the police department does it.
Right, but I'm saying, it'll be the same token, it's a new piece of legislation that people are not aware of, so you do a PSA piece.
I understand
And,
that, but the problem is people tend to get very angry. And if a guy is going to give them a summons and they don't have a gun on their belt, the respect isn't there as much as if there is a gun. So there has to be a coordination between this ordinance, the health department, and police department. Okay, because if not,
I could tell
The
you.
health officer is not gonna risk his life,
Of course not.
okay, to go up to some knucklehead who's smoking and pulls out a gun and pulls out a knife. I mean, it is what it is.
The
People
police
get angry.
department has been outstanding and very cooperative, working with our lay code enforcement and license inspectors.
Okay.
And when they need them, usually they'll say, hey, there's an issue, please make yourself available, and to their credit, they're always there.
All right, I just wanna make sure that that relationship continues on this ordinance, all right? Because I know that in the past, I know our dog warden, he's out there trying to enforce the picking up of the droppings, and sometimes people get angry.
The dog poop.
Yeah, they get angry, and they don't want to hear from him. Why? Because he's just a lay guy.
Understood.
All right. And if he calls the police department, it takes him half an hour to get there. Well, guys, by that time he's gone home. It's just unfortunately that's the reality of life. So I just want to make sure that there's got to be a better response, especially in the beginning. It's going to get a little hairy. All right. All right, so council members, I'm going to ask you again, look it over. I'll go along with Councilwoman Perkins Augusti's request to put this thing on for the first reading. If anyone has any amendments to be made, or if there's any changes to be made, we'll pull it, we'll get it redone by the law department, and we'll put it on in 2 weeks. Okay? Thank you.
Letter dated February 26, 2014, from the Acting Director of Planning and Community Development, requesting authorization for the proper city officials to execute a community development block grant agreement with the Urban League of Union County, Inc., Elizabeth, to provide funds for case management services, to provide direct short-term rental assistance to individuals or families at risk for homelessness for the period July 1, 2013 to June 30, 2014, in the amount of $25,000. Letter dated February 26, 2014, from the Acting Director of Planning and Community Development, requesting authorization for the proper city officials to execute any and all documents necessary to discharge the city's second mortgage and cancellation of the Affordability Agreement Combo Program on the property located at 1112, 1118 Dickinson Street in the amount of $70,000. Letter dated March 3rd, 2014, from the Acting Director of Planning and Community Development, requesting authorization for the proper city officials to execute any and all documents necessary and appropriate to postpone the city's mortgage rental housing program on the property located at 709, 711 3rd Street in the amount of $80,000.
The address is incorrect.
It's incorrect.
There's no 709 3rd Street. Probably 3rd Avenue.
3rd Avenue? All right, let me question that.
Is there any requirement for a gentleman to advertise that he's a city employee?
As far as the specific requirements, I'm not certain. I do know that there are conflict of interest provisions and other ethics rules that govern this, and I'm certain that the community development director
I just double check.
put this employee to them.
I know with these type of grants, sometimes you need to do some advertising, whatever it's called.
Sure.
Thanks.
Letter dated February 21st, 2014, from the Director of Public Works, requesting permission to have liens placed against properties listed on Schedule A attached here to in the amount of $3,463.33 for the boarding up of said properties.
Councilman.
Are we putting the other one back on? Are we putting this one? Yeah. Okay.
What's the other, just that it's
It's supposed to be 3rd Avenue.
3rd Avenue as opposed to street.
Letter dated March 4, 2014, from the Director of Public Works, requesting approval of change order number 1 for the contract awarded to Applied Landscape Technologies, Inc. for the renovations to Joseph A. O'Brien Playground at an original cost of $2,262,000 to provide further for quantity adjustments from estimated bid quantities to as-built quantities, excavation and disposal of regulated non-hazardous soil, additional soil removal due to the discovery of unsuitable soil and high groundwater related to the subsurface stormwater detention system and parking lot that was unknown during the design and bidding of the project at an additional cost of $411,301.56, raising the contract to $2,673,301.56.
What location is it? Right, it is.
Mr. President, I'm for the project, but I'm not for change orders, especially.
It's not the fifth ward, is it? This second one?
Not second, I can tell you that.
I think it's the 7 wards. The 7 ward. John Papetti and Paul Ladessa. And you gentlemen voted for this. Mr. President, can you get the final amount of money that we spent so far on O'Brien Field? What's the total cost? So I don't think this is the correct cost. This was the original bid. The total cost, I'd like to know how much have they spent so far before they even did an opening of the place?
Hey, you get a good project down there, Councilman.
Listen, it's good.
Listen, I just would like this, hopefully, if the weather was a little better, we'd have the damn thing already open, but.
Yeah, we're gonna have
But the reality is that it's not, and I don't necessarily understand
it's a good project.
how,
It's in a good field. You need to feel that. Good thing for you.
They gotta
I
maintain.
understand how in the change order, this is what bothers me, Don,
Well, I'm not wanting no change on
Don,
it.
part of this change order says, additional fence needed to be fabricated after it was determined that more existing panels than originally anticipated could not be salvaged.
I don't know who we get to do these projects.
Then you got additional, that was 19,000. And then you got 79,000, which says, additional quantity of concrete was needed in order to anchor the retaining wall into the subgrade and adequately hold back the turf field. They didn't know they needed that?
They find a great amount of clay underneath O'Brien
No, I
Field.
understand that, that's the part on the
They
top
should've known
though.
that to begin with.
I can only, Mr. President, I can only rely on what the Director of Public Works has put in the letter.
Thanks. All right. Put it out, we'll see where it goes.
Put it on. Let's go.
But answer Councilman Mazza's question if you don't mind. How much have we spent on it so far?
And when they, another question, if you don't mind, Mr. President, and when they expecting to open up this field?
Maybe another 30 days.
30 days?
That's what I was told. Provided we don't get any more snow.
Okay.
You have an email in your package addressed to Council President Grover requesting a resolution calling on United Airlines and other carriers operating at Newark Liberty International Airport to provide Newark Airport employees with a Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a paid holiday, and by granting an immediate raise of $1 per hour to those earning less than $9, and phasing in a minimum wage of $10.10 per hour. Also providing a living wage that sustains families and communities, guaranteeing access to quality, affordable health care for the employees and their families, allowing workers to improve their lives by organizing with the union of their choice, and for these corporations to be accountable to our communities and ensure economic security in our city.
Just so that everybody understands, I spoke to Mr. Scipio. From what I understand, the individuals working at JFK and LaGuardia International Airports have received these benefits by the Port Authority because Governor Cuomo in New York agreed to it. Our distinguished governor, Mr. Christie, has not agreed to it. And so people who work in Newark International Airport, doing the same job, are not benefiting from these changes. So, he's asked the city council, Elizabeth, which is part of the Newark Airport property, to pass this resolution. I don't have a problem with it, because I think the governor is really not working fair with these employees. But at the end of the day, I think as many resolutions as we can put together, it's gonna be up to the governor to make that decision. Okay. But if everyone's okay with it, I'd like to have this resolution on for the next city council meeting, and the copy sent to the Port Authority, Board of Directors, as well as to our governor. Is everybody okay with it?
Yes. Yeah, let's go.
Councilman Ballman has requested a commendation for Kiana Dominic Garrett. Councilman Torres has requested commendations for the Elizabeth Packers Pop Warner flag team and the Mighty Mites.
They're gonna be here on Tuesday?
And Officer Latif back.
Officer,
Latif back.
Councilman, is your person gonna be in there, Councilman Goldman?
Yeah, should be here, yes. Yes,
She's just one person, correct?
yes.
So what we'll
She
do,
might have a family with her,
but what we'll do is we'll have you go first, and then Councilman Torres will go second.
Okay.
Okay, because you have a bigger crowd.
yeah.
Maybe we'll do Officer Banks first,
Yeah, that's how I was gonna do it.
and then
Just
Pat.
go there.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Letter dated February 21st, 2014, from the Fair Rental Housing Board, their minutes of January 15, 2014. Now we have to go into closed session.
Council colleagues, we owe city clerk $10 for the,
What you sent your own.
we sent
paid,
the
right?
arrangement to Marshall's
I think I
relative.
paid, right? You want?
Yes.
If you have it,
New one, but Friday.
make sure we take care of that.
Oh,
I wish I had a soccer field.
You have a football field in How much money? How much money? We want to go
All
to
right,
the
we're
tax
gonna
bill.
go into closed session. Can I have a motion, please? So moved. Moved and seconded, roll call.
Councilwoman Perkins Dusty. Yes. Councilman Questa.
Aye.
Councilman Torres.
Aye.
Councilman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Keenan.
Aye.
Councilman Ballman.
Aye.
Councilman Mazza.
Aye.
President Grover. I'll read my little notice here. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the governing body wishes to discuss a matter falling within the attorney-client privilege, minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires that confidentiality, then the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved that the public be excluded from this meeting.
I think this council should get a list of properties that the city has now become owners of. When we plan on doing a public auction. The economy's getting better. I think properties are worth a little bit more than they were a few years ago. And I know that we foreclosed on a lot of properties in the last 18 months. So I think that instead of us raising taxes, if we could sell some of this property, we might be able to supplement our budget.
I know that nothing's been scheduled at this point, but I do think I believe that the CFO is working on
But let's get us a
schedule.
list,
we're on a list of the properties that, the city-owned properties? as
Yes.
well? Okay.
please. Number 2. In recent years, we did an amendment to an ordinance which states under 8.64.060 if you can make sure that this ordinance gets over to our police department. It says, it is unlawful for any shopping cart to be located on or in a public right-of-way. Any person who shall push, pull, or guide a shopping cart in or on a public right-of-way shall be in violation of this chapter, shall have the cart seized, and shall be subject to the violations and penalties set forth therein. The reason why this ordinance was created in 2008 was because we were having a lot of guys pulling scrap metal, and it just looks horrible. It really, really looks horrible on our city streets. And then what happens is they go to the scrap metal place and they leave the shopping cart inside, or garbage. I mean, it's horrible. So I'd like to ask that, number one, maybe our law department should amend this ordinance, because the definition of a cart says, means a hand-drawn or propelled vehicle, a wheeled container made of metal, wood, or other materials such as generally provided by merchants for the use of their customers in carting and carrying goods, wares, and merchandise to automobiles. I think it's got to get a little more vague, because we have baby strollers being used, carrying metal. We have those flat carts that Home Depot has. They're using those. It's like a whole variety of vehicles, anything with wheels, I guess, that are humanly propelled would fit the category, I think, as a cart. But it's really getting bad. There's got to be at least 50 people out in the city of Elizabeth doing this. And we don't know where this stuff is coming from. We created an ordinance which said that these scrap metal places are supposed to get names and addresses of where the stuff come from. A couple years ago, somebody sold 2 of our catch basin covers, and nobody knew where it came from. So I mean, it's bad. So I'd like to make sure that a copy of this ordinance gets sent over to Director Cosgrove. It's the shopping cart ordinance under Chapter 8.64, and that some enforcement starts happening. On Saturday, I had one gentleman pushing a shopping cart, one of those flat ones. All of the stuff he had on it spilt all over the middle of the street. So for 20 minutes, in the middle of 3rd Street, which is the main route to the mall, this guy's picking up, I mean, these carts, the cars had no place to go. He just had to wait until this guy put all the stuff back on his cart. It just looks bad. And I think there has to be some enforcement. Quality of life, very simple. The other thing we got a problem with is panhandlers. And it's happening right at the exit from 13, which is in your ward. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, you pull up to the light, and here you got a guy coming up to you, asking for money. It just doesn't look good for an outsider coming into the city. Gets off at exit 13, and the first thing he confronts in the city of Elizabeth is a guy asking him for money. There has to be some enforcement. I don't know if that's illegal, not illegal, but it just doesn't look good for us as a city. The last thing, and I don't know if, did every member of council get this?
No, that was
No,
just to you.
that was just,
I'm going to have Yolanda give a copy to everyone of a research memo that was prepared by Mr. Holzappel and the law department about regulation of video recordings of our city council meetings. I know we tried doing this under one of you, okay, and we really never got to actually pass anything. But I think it's, we're gonna get into silly season in the next couple months. The one thing I don't want to have happen is people coming up to the city council meeting, start filming things that are going on, and all of a sudden, it becomes on a commercial for somebody wanting to run for office. It's one thing to protect the public rights to come to a meeting and videotape. It's another to misconstrue what's said at the meeting. So I think there has to be some regulations put into place. if somebody's gonna film the meeting, they have to film the whole meeting. If they're gonna film the meeting, they can't film sections and splice it or whatever else they want to do with it. So I'll have Yolanda give everyone a copy of the research memo, and if anybody has any comments, I really want to put something into place. Other towns have them, and I think we need to have it. Councilwoman Patricia Perkins, yes. Pass. Councilman Torres. Pass. Councilman King.
As the weather gets warmer, I was wondering if the Public Works Department could reach out to the state agency that fills potholes and also the county, because the potholes on Westfield, West Grand, West Jersey, they're just like moon craters.
Those are state and county roads.
Yeah.
Because we've begun that undertaking already, just to fill you in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I know our guys have been doing a good job.
Yeah.
But the county roads is not our responsibility, it's state roads.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Councilman. Councilman Gollman.
Pass.
Councilman Mazza.
Pass.
Councilman Questa. Councilman Gonzalez.
Mr. President, yeah, just some things when you mentioned with the video recording. I know we had put something together previously, and a draft of an ordinance. I don't know if that was included with it.
No, it's not again.
We had drafted something
Yeah, but
previously.
the draft, after we had completed our research, we learned that the draft included things that were contrary to the Supreme Court holdings.
Can we still get that?
Yeah, yes, of course.
Does it exist somewhere, the draft?
The draft, yeah, I'm sure. It's from like Chester Township or something like that. But
Right.
that doesn't mean that it was ever passed or that it's good law or
I understand.
any of those.
But can we get a copy of that also?
Yes.
All right, thanks.
And then the second thing, I'll see the clerk might be able to answer. I requested some time ago, the 2 intersection with the Department of Transportation was requesting a resolution so they can do the lights for me in
Right.
those intersections.
I spoke to Lieutenant Marcus, and he is really not in favor of committing to the 25%, not knowing how much that 25% is going to be.
25% of the parking space?
Of the electrical costs
Costs.
associated with
With the delayed
with doing a
green.
delayed green or something to that effect. But
How can we find out that answer?
Well, I thought we were going to involve T&M in that process.
Yeah, but he said that he feels that it's a game that NJDOT is playing.
But, Mr. President, I made the
Let's send
request.
can we send a letter to T&M and get the councilman's answer, please?
Okay.
That was the purpose of involving T&M is so they could provide us some figure that we will work
No,
on.
T&M is not going to provide the figure.
No.
Mm-mm. The DOT is the one that's asking for the commitment of the
Right.
25%.
Right.
They know how much they are going to.
So let's send DOT a letter and tell us
charge.
to give us the amount.
Okay.
That's what we need to have.
Mhm.
Councilman,
See, they won't tell him.
well, maybe they'll tell us.
Yeah, if we could do that, then send DOT a letter, asking them to give us a
And
figure
see
that
if
we
we
can
can
then
get-
say,
Okay.
we agree to 25% of that amount.
What is PSNG?
March 18th.
That's it, Mr. President, thank you.
All right, just so everybody knows, next pre-council meeting, which is March 18th, we're gonna have representatives of PSNG here. So please, if you have double poles that are out there that need to be addressed, please get me an address and a pole number. If you have lights that are out throughout the city, street lights, get me an address, get me a pole number. They also ask for cross streets, so if you can get the closest cross street, try to do it. Councilman Gonzalez gave me a nice grid, like on a spreadsheet with all that information. Whatever you guys can bring to that meeting would be great, because we're gonna have people here. We can hand it to them in their hands, and hopefully it'll expedite things a little better. Yes, Councilman?
Manny, can you, I had him on the thing. 220 South Street, 6-7 months ago, a request might be through the either law department or construction department to really demolish this particular site. There was a fire. It's been brought up several times, that there is activity going on, homeless people or whatever. And somebody was supposed to look into it. I mean, if it isn't a different ward than the 6th, it immediately gets action, it gets done, can be demolished. No, Councilman, seriously. If it is from the 6th ward, apparently, somebody's relaxing and getting paid, guess what? They're gonna go to the 6 months. So let them find out what happened, somebody send an inspector and do what they have to do, because just at your fundraising, a gentleman reminded me about 220 again. I said, well, it's in the hands of the proper people. They have to determine with the bank or whatever what's gonna happen. Let's see what
We'll look
happens.
into the status of
220 South Street.
Seven, that's what you said, and that's for last.
The PSC&G is coming at 7, it's half an hour. Hopefully we can get organized and get our list together so we can try to wrap it up in half an hour. Couple of things, we got time on this, but we got invited, all of us, to the anniversary of the Portuguese Instructive Social Club. I think you guys all received an invitation. Please respond if you're going. There's also a free event on Wednesday, March 26th, with the Cultural Day Committee. There's also in front of you an event putting forth by Jefferson Park Ministries on March 20th at the Steve Sampson Center. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this town. Be active, get out there. Motion to adjourn.